Double Page Spread is brought to you by DCBS, the Discount Comic Book Service. If you're really into House of X or Power of 10, any of the new X-Men books, those titles you can pre-order in bundles for 50% off. So definitely go check them out, as well as the wide assortment of indie creators and deep discounts on all kinds of toys and statues and things that you love every single day over at dcbservice.com. As well as Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab, who give you the ultimate in decadent, romantic, gothic, erotic fragrances, the most incredible perfume oils and scents you can imagine. They have things based on comics like Bitch Planet or drag queens or role-playing games. They have everything that suits your personal scent fragrance needs. So go check them out at blackphoenixalchemylab.com. And thank you so much to everybody who orders t-shirts and notebooks and all those things with the Double Page Spread logos. You can get the Cappy eating a cupcake or Judge Dredd sipping a Slurpee. You can get any of these awesome logos on a bunch of gear over at the Threadless shop. Please check it out. It's in the show notes. I really appreciate it. So thank you and have a wonderful day. Hey there, welcome back to Double Page Spread. I'm your host, Miss Wendy Freeman. I'm joined tonight by one of my longtime favorite, most good-natured and positive people in the comic industry, Mr. Gene Ha.
Hi there. I'm also known as one of the guys with the most radio voices in comic book arts, so step into a Slim Jim.
See, you're perfect. So you have you're releasing volume 2 of your creator-owned book, May.
Yes.
And it's coming out through Lion Forge.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They've recently had a big merger with Oni, but it's still going to be from Lion Forge, so yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, I was curious about that. So let's get into that, but let's also get into, a little bit of the history of you. People may remember you most from Top 10, which is the book you did with Alan Moore.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you've done some stuff on Starman, my favorite book.
Oh, yeah.
And also, you received a special award at San Diego Comic-Con a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. They gave me a spotlight panel where I could talk about my career. I think it was it was set at 10 a.m., so it was before everyone got in the gate. And then they introduced me. They had someone from staff introduce me to the crowd. And it turned out she had a box, which I didn't realize what the heck it was. And it was a Inkpot Award, which I'd never even seen one in person before. It was just amazing. It was just a beautiful cartoon figure of an inkpot with legs and arms holding a pen. It feels like what you'd expect like a medieval mace would feel like. But chromed and beautiful.
That's awesome. Now, you already have 4 Eisners.
Yeah.
Yes. So is this are you putting this somewhere special, different from your Eisners?
No, they all go together. In my studio, which is, like most artist studios, not an especially glamorous place or anything. It's just art supplies and awards. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah. I'll say, I want to say something that's very, very specific about my work and my career. I've got 4 Eisners, but all of them are for the book or the series. They're all team awards. So I have never gotten an Eisner as artist, like cover artist, penciler, ink, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always worked on great books, and been the part of the art team on a great book. I've never been the artist who just was really great, but forget about the book or anything like that.
You're not recognized for your solo art. Solo skills there.
Yeah. It's always, I'm really good at working with writers to tell a good story. Well, not always, but I mean, when I have a great writer and I'm on the top of my form, we tell a great story together.
See, but I mean, that's more of an honor because you're part of a great team.
Well, it's a different honor.
It's a different honor. It's
a total honor, though.
Yes. Yeah. But you're part of a really, really good ensemble, which is good. Like you frequently work with Xander Cannon. Who I love to death. I think he's amazing.
I brought him along to the I was going to say the Inkpot Award. I did not know it was that to the Spotlight panel, and he was the guy who moderated.
Oh.
And he's a very, very humble guy. Kaiju Max, his new book is brilliant. If you love Top 10
mm-hmm.
and the writing on it, read that book. This is a book where Alan Moore's a fan of it, and he is too humble to tout the book that way himself, but it totally deserves it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kaiju Max is emotionally devastating.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I love it so much. I have a little plush Electrogore. You know, I love that book so much. I talk about it all the time. But, yeah, and also, like, he takes it to places, like, you where you just don't think, you feel like nothing is going to get worse for these characters than it is at this moment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And by the way, he planned it as a comedy before he started writing and drawing it, and then realized, oh, that's not funny, is it? That's just, like Wendy said, emotionally devastating.
It is. It's like the Walking Dead of kaiju, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I realize everybody compares it to Orange is the New Black and all those things, and it's true. It's that.
An honest prison drama is going to be as horrible as The Walking Dead, yes. And it's even subtle things, just like, oh, I'm in prison. What's going to happen to my kids out there?
Right. You can't make it charming. You can't make a prison drama charming.
Yeah.
So, when was the last time you were at San Diego? Are you a regular goer?
No, it's probably been 4 or 5 years since I've been there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, what was different this year? Like, tell me your experience. What did you get to see anything?
Okay, first time I went there, I think was in 2000. That was a little before Hollywood really invaded. I went again around 2007, I think, when the Hollywood takeover was almost in full swing. And this time, Hollywood less dominant than it used to be, less movie stuff. Let me see. Also, weirdly, mainstream comics like Marvel and DC, especially DC, not as present as they used to be.
Yeah. So I read a fascinating article by Heidi McDonald on The Beat analyzing. Did you read that one?
Oh, yeah.
And it was so fascinating analyzing about how, like, this is kind of the year where you really felt like Hollywood's kind of retreating a bit. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about how the difference, like, this is the first year DC didn't have their own, like, huge booth. Instead, you had, like, DC as part of the Warner Brothers booth. So you had to really look behind the velvet ropes to find maybe one or two comic creators. You know, it was very depressing in that regard.
I'll say Artist Alley was just a total delight. It was decent flow crowds all the time, often really crowded. Everyone excited about comics in that the furthest corner of the hall, but everyone there who got there was excited to be there. It was just great. Just the amount of talent around me, people I'd never seen before, old friends. I'll mention, I think he's now 15-year-old Ethan Castillo, who has been who tabled in Artist Alley at Comic-Con, and he specializes in drawing Spider-Man. Oh. And he's gotten, in some ways, better as a superhero artist than I was when I graduated from college.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Check him out on Instagram, Ethan Castillo. He's brilliant. It's crazy. I first met him when he was 8 years old, and he belongs in Artist Alley.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And so, you know, it's funny, like, sometimes there are certain artists where, like, you've seen their kids grow up. Yeah. You know, like, you've seen them all these cons over the years, and you've seen their kids that are, like, drawing in the background, and then you notice, like, wow, your daughter's really an artist now. Or so, you know, it's great. That's cool.
Oh, also, I don't know what percentage of your listeners live in the Chicago area. Mm-hmm. Do you know about the Alex Ross exhibition in the suburbs?
No. Oh, I think I heard about it. Where is it? Tell me about that.
It's at the Best Bauer Dunn Museum, Lake County, in the Lake County Government Building. So way off in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. But it's got like about 60 or so Alex Ross original paintings there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all Marvel themed. It's called Marvelocity. Mm-hmm. And even a few things like a little bit of his roughs, and also some of his handmade childhood superhero dolls he made when he was a little kid.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's an amazing exhibition. But he is the son of an amazing commercial illustrator. His mother was an illustrator. And if you look at one of his books where he talks about his mom and shows some of his pictures, she was crazy talented.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, yeah, go check that out. Lake Forest? Lake something?
What's it? North of Vernon Hill. Libertyville.
There you go. I get everything has oak or forest or lawn, you know. Yeah. I can never, village.
Yeah, the people who built the suburban housing developments around here all had very unimaginative names of like, Oak Lake did really well. I think I'll call mine Forest Lake or Lake Forest or, you know.
Oak Lawn and then Oak Park and then, you know.
Yeah.
I can't tell anything.
Yeah, you don't get fun names like Durango around here.
So let's go on to May Volume 2. Let's refresh people about May Volume 1. So the thing that always fascinates me about this book is the fact that May, the titular character, is not in fact the main character who goes off and has the adventures.
Oh, okay. So May is not the character who's the main action hero of the book. That's definitely true. And her older sister, Abby, who goes by the nom de guerre, the name warrior name Annie, or Queen Annie of the Mnukove.
All right, that's how you pronounce it. All right, I'm going to ask a whole ton of pronunciation questions on this.
If you go to jeanha.com, I need to do this too. A lot of the names like Mnukove are Czech. So if you speak Czech, you'll know how to pronounce it better than I do. And I have an approximation in English on how to pronounce all of them. So if I looked it up again, I could really, really tell you how to pronounce it. I will quietly do that while we're talking.
Good. Well, what's the name of the main land?
Oh, okay. I should really, really look up how to do this. It looks like
it's not like Narnia. You could just say Narnia.
Oh no. Yeah, I mean, if you say Simmerterran, I will understand what you're saying, and everyone else will understand what you're saying. But there's actually some. If you want the official pronunciation, go to my website, and there's a little About May section, and then a glossary link after that. And I am clicking that right now. Okay, so in Czech, the C at the front is pronounced with a TS sound, not s. Mm-hmm. So you got to kind of hiss it with that sound there, and then you can see here, Simmerterran. Simmerterran.
I can't roll my R's.
Yeah, both the R's are rolled, and the stress is on the first syllable, and it's TSIM. Simmerterran.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the Cat Warriors.
Yeah, tell me about the Cat Warriors.
This is the first time I've done this on a podcast, so I'm actually trying to get it right. And if you're Czech, please forgive me for messing this up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's Mnukove. Mnukove. And the N it's like the Spanish N with a tilde on top, like Nina. Mm-hmm. So Mnukove. Mnukove. And it means, it's Czech for the meowers.
Well, that's great. See, now we're learning different languages on this.
Yeah, and I'm forgetting her last name. Professor Malin Sternberg of the University of Chicago, who's a Slavic languages professor, created the made-up words in Czech for me to use inside of May.
How nice! That's great.
And told me how to pronounce it, but she speaks Czech and I don't, so I have to try to repeat what she said. But I'm sure she would not give me an A+ on this. She's kind, but she's not going to give me an A+ just for that.
So, it's like reading a Václav Havel novel.
Yeah.
So let's go into this world building in this sense. So in Volume 1, we hadn't really gone into that world. Like, it's more May dealing with, like, her sisters come back and the family dynamic of her thinking she's a runaway. Okay,
so we're going to go a little bit of spoilers here. Okay, inside of May Volume 1, we start off with May living in her small town in Indiana, taking care of her dad. She has a best friend who's gone to college. She's come back to visit. And then her sister, who's been missing for 8 years, ever since her older sister was 13, reappears at the sheriff's office. She's not under arrest. She's just been taken away from a bar where she had a bar fight, but no one pressed charges because she won and the guy was too embarrassed. And when May comes to pick her up late at night, her sister Abby claims she's been in another world, fighting against mad scientists and monsters and leading the Mnukove cat warriors into battle.
The meowers.
The cat barbarian warriors. And usually when I'm describing to other people, I don't say Mnukove, which is helping me to remember it now because I'm doing it on a podcast. I just say the cat barbarian warriors. And if you say that to me, or if you say Mnukove or Mnukove, I'll understand. And only the Czech friends of ours nearby will be horribly, horribly, disappointed by how we're saying it. Anyway.
How dare you culturally appropriated the Czech language.
Abby disappeared at the age of 13, went off to a fantasy world and had adventures there as a great action hero. So all this time, she essentially has not been going to school, has not been dealing with adult things. So she's not good at adulting. Mm-hmm. Well, May had adulting forced on her early by a dad who wasn't always practical and is a little grumpy, doesn't always take care of himself, and she's just been the grown-up inside that world. and then her sister comes back. She gets dragged to this other world, and the first volume follows their adventures in that world, but also May realizing, oh, my sister's older than me, but she's not an adult. She's not a responsible person. And sometimes, especially when you're dealing with other people's lives and dangerous situations and other people almost getting killed, maybe you need to be an adult about it.
Yeah, especially when you're leading a warrior, when you're a warrior goddess, and especially having to deal with making treaties and trying to do adult sort of governmental. That you can't be a queen without making some sort of adulting choices.
Oh yeah, or even if you start a fight when you see a big battle happening between two tribes, and you just jump in and start hitting one side, and you may realize really quickly, oh, we were hitting the wrong side.
Right. So, and of course, there's so many more things we could get into that are totally spoilery.
Yeah.
But I want to know, so why did you make it a dynamic about sisters? What's different about sisters than brothers? Do you have siblings?
I do have siblings. I only have brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm partially inspired by Why I Hate Saturn by Kyle Baker, which is about two sisters. And I grew up without sisters, and the dynamic is very, very different. Where with brothers, things get very simple very fast. You get into a fist fight. The brother who wins the fist fight or the wrestling match is the boss, and everyone else has to listen to him. With sisters, no one ever accepts the idea of you're the boss. It's constantly fighting for status, while also trying to claim, oh, I'm not trying to be the boss, but still you got to listen to me.
That's true.
Yeah. It was so alien to me. It was kind of like fascinating finding out that, oh, like you said, it is true. I did not know that was true.
Mm-hmm.
And
the woman dynamic is entirely different.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up, I just had an older brother, so it was a bit, like I just accepted that he was smarter than me and knew more than,
Yeah. And this is true with, it's not as true with like male friends as compared to brothers, but it kind of is, where guys tend to have one guy who becomes the boss and everyone follows the leader. Well, women friends tend to dislike the idea of one person's the boss and therefore everyone has to listen to her.
Mm-hmm.
It may be unofficially true, but you can't say it out loud, or you're not supposed to say it out loud. And at some point, May realizes, oh God, I've got to be the older sister now. I've got to be the boss, even though I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's stressful. It's really stressful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially when you haven't seen your sister in 15 years or whatever it is.
Oh yeah. And she also grew up without a mom.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, she's both desiring to have an older sister who will be her best friend, like the desire for a single girl to wish she had a twin who understands her and will be her best friend forever. She wants someone who will be her sister, her best friend, and frankly, her mom. And she quickly realizes her older sister is not going to be any of those things for her.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I mean, especially there's always that thing of wanting someone to be everything. Like you can't expect your best friend to also be or like you can't expect your mom to also be your best friend. I feel like that's a mistake that a lot of people make. A lot of moms make it, a lot of people make. And it's
Abby also makes a mistake herself where when she gets to see her younger sister again, who's really wants to adore her, even though she's a little snippy because they're sisters. She also just wants to dive into this role of, I'm going to be your best friend and the leader and the boss. And, she wouldn't call herself a mom, but, I'm going to be the older figure you've always needed in your life. And she will never admit, or she does not admit that, no, I'm not really ready to be that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So let's talk about the world building of this other world. Now, I was a little bit unclear. So I thought it was more like a D&D kind of fantasy world, but then you also have like film projectors and things like that. So is it more steampunk? Is it more? How would you explain this?
I try to stay away from just genre tropes because there's some of those things that really annoy me when they just dive into it. I wanted to have a background logic to how everything works, but I didn't want the reader to have to understand all of it for them to read the story. Mm-hmm. But because it's not essential and it's not stuff, the point of the story is not for you to discover the history. I can just give it to you right now and it's not going to change your reading experience much. It'll just help you understand how I built it. Simataran is an other world where a gate opened to it in the middle 1800s in the Czech lands, which was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So the scientists who discovered this gate realized, we're a conquered land inside of an empire. If I tell the government about this, they get the land and we're going to get kicked out again. So it's kept as a big secret between all these Czech scientists inside the Czech Science Institute. And then they start exploring it and even settling there a little bit and trying to keep it a secret from the government. They actually succeed. And then they invite Czech American scientists to join in. And then they invite another group of scientists who also wouldn't tell their government, which is a bunch of African American scientists who realize, oh, look at this land where there's no segregation and there's no lynching and all these other horrible things happening in America. Boy, as long as we don't tell the government, it will always be that way here. And that's how it stays. But a little before World War I, the gates collapse. And everyone who's there is trapped or can't get back. They're not trapped. It's a big world. But they can't get back to the Earth, and they have to make their own civilization without that. And they've lost track of everything that's happened since, like anything nuclear science, quantum physics, Coca-Cola. I mean, the whole kit and caboodle of like the 20th century. Mm-hmm. They don't know about it. So that's why it's so exciting for May. Well, like she can come back and she can make a fortune just selling Frisbees at one point.
Well, I mean, I liked that was the Mark Waid issue.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I liked that issue in particular because I felt it was very, very like a Man Who Fell to Earth.
Yeah.
Like it was very, very much like she shows up in this other world and she's able to make a big deal. She's able to, create these things for them. She's able to show them, super soakers or whatever, like yo-yos. Whatever. It was also very kind of a Hudsucker Proxy, coming up with these ideas that they had never heard of, and look like she's a super genius. But meanwhile, she's also an engineering major.
But she's a high school graduate. She never went to college.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah.
So she for a high school graduate who did not take specialized classes and stuff like that, she is kind of a genius. And it took me a long time of research to figure out what is something that you could, in the course of a month, you could build inside of a world like Cemetery without having to, that they wouldn't have thought to invent themselves. And I had a lot of ideas like microwave ovens, no. And I found the thing I finally figured out that they probably wouldn't discover on their own, and which almost didn't happen in our world, is actually the thing we're talking to right now, which is microphones and amplifiers. It's a very, very specialized technology that was really hard to build. There's a lot of failed attempts. Like the first telephones didn't have amplifiers in them. You just had to listen really carefully.
Oh, huh.
Yeah. So yeah, she is the person who brings loudspeakers to that world.
Yeah, and of course, on the side note, her boyfriend back home is in a band.
Oh yeah.
So she'd understand this stuff.
Yeah, but it's way harder to build an amplifier than I thought. And
right.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
I had no idea.
Right. Yeah, building amps, like I know people who build their own pedals and build their own, all this stuff, and that's not easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although you could buy a Radio Shack kit, but
oh yeah, that's the thing. If you don't have the specialized parts for building an amplifier, you just have to build it from scratch from materials you'd find in in a 1910 electronics shop or electrical shop. It's not even electronics yet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost impossible.
So let's talk about what is Abby Annie? What is her current place in that universe? So now she's kind of a renegade, right? Oh, yeah. She's a rebel now because she ran away from having to marry the other leader.
Okay, so it's revealed that they're going to, like often happened inside of 19th century Europe, they're going to have an alliance sealed by a royal marriage. And they needed to have two nations essentially unite. One would be the Zemtrasi, which I'm probably going to mispronounce as I look at the guide, but let's just say Zemtrasi, and Miocave.
Miocave.
Yeah, but the Miocave are bipedal humanoid cats. They can't marry humans. They're in no way interested in marrying humans. So essentially, they decide, well, we don't even have queens. We don't want to marry a human. But hey, we have this friend of ours who's joined our tribe who is a human. Yeah, you be the queen and marry that guy. We don't want to.
So now, even though like this is an idyllic society where there's no race or whatever problems, there must still be like a caste system of some manner because you have all these different species. There must be conflict of all this.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be. I mean, people are always going to form into little tribes one way or another. I mean, It's not like you can go to like the former Yugoslavia. And if you go to any of these parts, if you go to any of the nations there, an American cannot tell these people apart. The average American they're going to listen to the language. It all sounds almost exactly the same. The communities tend to look about the same. They're all just different types of white people. But inside that area, they divide up and they have passionate disagreements and stereotypes about each other. And it's just like, oh, those people, they're all criminals and we're the noble warriors and they're sophisticated, uppity people who like poetry and waltzing. And, it's just, I'm saying this from this, I'm stereotyping the Serbs, but.
But yeah, there's a nationalism to everywhere you go. There's a sort of, Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how subtle the differences are. People are always going to kind of do that with each other.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When you actually have different species, there's going to be kind of different tribes and stuff like that. Though they are actually different species, and like Minyokave cat warriors really are fierce natural warriors. They're predators, like your pet cat is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They also have to be really smart, but they're not really patient for like sitting around and negotiating a treaty or something like that.
That's why you need a human. You need somebody around to kind of help you out with that stuff.
Yeah, but boy, did they pick the wrong one to negotiate.
I love the color scheme of this book. Let's give some props to your colorist. Who do we have working on that?
It's the lead colorist on most of the chapters. Where I only did the first 2 chapters all by myself. After that, it's Wesley Hartman of Texas, who also goes by Wesflo with no W at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But then I tweaked it a little bit at the end to make it look like my color scheme, to make it look like my style. But it's mainly his work on the colors after that, on everything after chapter 2. And you were talking about the purples and the jewel-like quality.
Yes, it's definitely a lot. You do a lot of purple casts across things, and it's definitely a lot of reds and blues that stand out in the book.
Before I bought my Pantone little chipbook thing, to figure out the color scheme for May, long before I even really figured out the plot, I went to a Sherwin-Williams store,
mm-hmm.
and I picked out some paint chips, and it's like, oh, these look good together. And purple was one of the dominant colors. I created a color theme for Abby. I created a color theme for May, and one for May's best friend Dahlia. And once I had those 2 purples, for a slightly more reddish one for May, slightly more bluish one for Abby, I began putting into a lot of the colors, and I realized something unusual about purple, which is if you look at the Roy G. Biv visible color spectrum of pure colors, there's no purple in it. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. But that's because purple is not a spectral color. There's no light frequency that looks like purple. It's what your eye perceives when you see a lot of red and a lot of blue without a lot of green or yellow in the middle, inside that light coming at your eye.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, which our eye perceives it as a brilliant, pure, saturated color, but it's not. It's actually one of those mixed colors like browns and grays and stuff like that. It's just one that we think looks really shiny, but that also means you can use it like saturated colors to kind of mix with other colors and shade it and tone it down, and it still works. And it just works beautifully. I can add it to almost any other color except for like certain types of greens and yellows, and it'll just make it look jewel-like.
That's really interesting. I never knew that. It's kind of like that classic, what was it, that internet debate about the color of the dress. Oh, yeah. It like our eyes just perceive things at different frequencies, I imagine,
Yeah. Oh, also, if you use Photoshop for coloring and you want to be as labor-intensive and annoying as me about color, this is painful to do, but in any single patch of color, which you can hit with a magic wand, I don't mix colors. I mix colors by layering them on top of each other or adjusting them, but I don't take 2 colors and mix them together in the same area.
Mm-hmm.
And that means if I want to adjust it later using all the fancy sliders in Photoshop, Control B, Control U, and that type of stuff, I can adjust the color really smoothly until the relative color stuff I'm talking about with like the yellow versus the blue dress.
Mm-hmm.
I can make sure the colors look good next to each other by just adjusting it that way, very subtly. And most colorists have a palette of colors they like using, and they work well together, but it always feels like everything's trapped inside that same color range. And that allows, doing it the way I do it, allows me to really kind of keep pushing colors until they're as brilliant as possible.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I love hearing this stuff. That's really interesting.
Yeah, but it's annoyingly labor intensive.
Yeah, but you're a perfectionist, so I imagine you put in the time. You put in the work on this. Of course, we know you definitely mostly from cons as being you were this master of Copic markers, Copic markers, and everything you do with your texturals, your grays and your stuff like that. So are you mainly only doing marker stuff at shows now, or how is your process of working digitally?
Oh, I the thing. Okay, there's two things about markers. One is that they kind of stink at covering large areas.
Yeah.
Even if you buy a wide marker, even with Copics, there's a limited selection of the wide markers, and they've even discontinued them. So I need to just keep on buying blank wide markers and mix my colors in. But even when they still had them all, they did not have every marker in a wide marker. So using the little tiny markers to cover like an 11 by 17 sheet's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, yeah, it's just you can't push around the colors you want the way I can inside of Photoshop. So it's just even like they don't actually have a good selection of purples.
Huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's not like you'd think there'd be a nice gradation of a cool purple that goes from light to dark and a warm purple, reddish purple that goes from light to dark, but there isn't. It's just it jumps all over the place with the purples, and the browns are weird too. Mm-hmm. Which, if you've ever had a color somebody who's not white, those browns are really useful. There should be more of them, but yeah, it's just yeah.
But you do so much with the grays. You do so much with that, and you like we were talking about, like when you're drawing portraits, when you're drawing people, like you always you love drawing the kids at shows and doing that stuff. Like I've seen you do so many things, and you make things so recognizable with so little.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, okay, I'm going to give you a trick, which you know that Shelley Bond has a Kickstarter now. I'm just going to bring this thing because I'm going to do Shelley Bond.
Oh, Shelley
Vertigo.
Bond. Yes, yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, she has a Kickstarter called Hey Amateur, where I'm going to do a one-page, 9-panel strip on this subject. But I'm going to give it to you, the podcast listeners here, just for free. You just won't get any of the visuals. But,
it's an audio play.
Yeah, this is how you get a likeness, and this is the thing where even a lot of professionals who have trouble getting likenesses don't understand. Mm-hmm. Try drawing with a big smudgy tool. Just even like finger paint or something like that. If you want to get a likeness, if you can get the smudges to look like somebody, which is based on proportion, mm-hmm. that means you can get the likeness in detail really easily. But if you don't get the smudges in the right place, and it doesn't look like them yet, no amount of detail is going to make it look like them. And just think of like a blurry photo where you can see like a blurry photo of somebody at a distance, and you still know that it's your mom or your best friend or anything like that. We can recognize people by just the smudges of and how they're proportioned, like the length of the jaw and the length of the nose and stuff like that, and how wide the cheeks are. And yeah, anything beyond that. If you're doing a character, then it becomes a matter of you push the proportion so that it's even more like them than it is in reality. You have to figure out what's distinctive and then just push it further, which I've done relatively realistic superhero drawings for so long, I'm actually fallen a little bit out of the habit. But I remember from when I used to do exaggerated characters in college, that's how I did it. You find what's distinctive. And the problem you see with a lot of, God bless them, but like the amusement park character artists and stuff like that, mm-hmm. They focus on getting features that look like that person, and then place it on a standard shape head that they always draw.
Now, we were literally just having this conversation about Funko Pops.
Yeah,
and this is exactly the same thing. Yeah. Because, the Funko Pops all that same shape head. How much can you really do with everybody to differentiate when they all have that same shape head?
Yeah. All of a sudden I can't remember Al Pacino's. Anyway, Al Pacino and The Godfather.
Right.
She has a Funko Pop just a few feet away from us of him from The Godfather. And
Michael Corleone.
Yeah, Michael. Right. Yeah. And you can kind of tell it's him because his brother and his dad are right next to him. But otherwise, it's just this natty-looking 1940s guy inside of with a snap brim hat and all that type of stuff. But if you don't change the shape of the head and stuff like that, you can't tell. Mm-hmm. It's Al Pacino.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the same thing as damn James Bonds. Yeah. I wish my James Bonds were a little bit more unique. You know?
But yeah, if you want to do a caricature. You can kind of get it if you just do that standardized head and it's like, oh, it's the Funko-shaped head or it's the standard Six Flags shaped head with an eye that kind of looks like my kid's eye with the right color and a nose that turns up or turns down or whatever. But if you really want to capture a true likeness as opposed to, I can tell this is supposed to be them and supposed with little quote marks around them, figure out the proportions and get them and exaggerate them or get them kind of right.
Yeah.
And
Al
that's the key.
Hirschfeld, wasn't that the name?
That's
of
the name I was trying to remember.
Yes,
Hirschfeld.
yeah, because there's a whole theater, the Hirschfeld Theater, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So Al Hirschfeld, we were talking about his art before, and he's
Yeah.
that famous Broadway caricaturist, and you see it in like old steakhouses in New York have like walls of his pictures and
Yeah.
like all those things, like some of those old.
Yeah.
He
did heads that don't look like human heads, but they look like the actor he was drawing.
Right.
Because he took whatever's distinctive about them and pushed it so far, it may not look human anymore, but it does look like that person. It's
Right.
brilliant work. It's
Yeah.
the best caricaturist of all time.
Yeah, so it's subtle, that art of how to draw a good caricaturized, stylized likeness is so subtle.
Yeah.
So more Al Hirschfeld, less Funko.
Okay. Oh, also, especially in case Shelley Bond is listening, I still think it's a good idea to buy Hey Amateur and see the pictures of me explaining this.
Yes. So so that's still up. Shelley Bond's thing still?
I don't know if it'll be up by the time this goes, the podcast goes up, but it's up right now. So,
good.
So hopefully it succeeds.
I'm very happy. Like, I wish nothing but the best for her and Karen Berger, and like those Vertigo editor women. Like they really, really shaped. They shaped a whole industry.
Oh yeah. I mean, we were talking about San Diego and DC Comics and how, the booth there. I didn't talk to a lot of the DC people. I didn't have a chance to. But from what I heard from the Comics Beat and Heidi McDonald report is just that it's very much more corporate now. Yeah. And DC Comics is the corporate people are kind of finally turning their Cyclops eyes on the company and forcing it to line up as an actual part of a major corporation instead of this outcast island of misfit toys trying to create great comics without anybody noticing.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I also said, like, instead of, like, over the Marvel booth, you'd have photo ops of, like, a throne or the Thor's hammer or whatever. Like, at DC, they had the Friends couch. Like, that was your big photo op. If you want to be anywhere near the DC stuff, like, oh, you could pose at the Friends couch.
Yeah.
Once again, it's just nothing about comics anymore.
No.
It's sad. But, I feel like it'll get back there. It has to.
Well, okay, so the nice thing about San Diego having the movie people pull back a little bit is that the comics section isn't necessarily getting bigger. It's not getting a lot more space, but the people who are there are still love comics. Of course, the comic book artists, the writers, we all love comics. The fans are still showing up there fighting through the crowds of everyone else who just wants to get toys or see the movie stuff, which, again, God bless them. Mm-hmm. But as long as you get to the corner we want to get to, we don't care. Or we also care, might be a better way to put it. I mean, I'm standing inside of a forest of Funko Pops right now.
Yeah. Who else would care?
Yeah. The other thing is, let me see. But yeah, I think comics are going to thrive at San Diego. I just think it's not necessarily going to get bigger. It's not going to take over the convention necessarily. It's just we're gonna keep what we have and keep that culture alive at the convention.
We're cockroaches.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's
going to be there.
That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I feel like there's so many people who aren't disheartened who still keep going back and and doing it, and maybe one day, like hotels will be affordable again. Maybe that's a big dream. I don't know.
Oh man. I do think also. We are cockroaches. So we're always going to be smart cockroaches who are going to scheme for ways to be able to figure out how to get into San Diego and figure out a hotel room. And I know in my 20s, it would be like 5 of us packed into one hotel room, and we may have to take like the tram line from another part of San Diego for 30 minutes to get to the convention. But we're going to figure out a way to get there.
Yeah. But also it's interesting how some of these other like D23 and Star Wars Celebration have flourished and like now the studios are more like presenting more their bigger attractions over there. So things are just changing shape. They'll always be. I'm curious to see where things will be always be in like 5-10 years. But.
Okay, so this is my hopeful theory on like what might happen with San Diego, which is I think it's such a big thing now. But if the movie people pull away, if we don't have, frankly, like another blockbuster thing happening there beyond the Marvel panel, there'll always be enough people who want to go for any reason fighting to get in. But if there's less movie stuff and less TV stuff, more of the comics people will get in over time. And it will still stay the biggest, bestest American, well, I shouldn't say bestest, but, the grandest American comic book convention. And we will always be ready to rush in if somebody else decides it's not worth the fight. because
Yeah.
we are the cockroaches.
What's your favorite show to do?
Oh man, I
You do
feel.
a lot of like little library shows too, which is
Oh
fun.
yeah. Oh, I
Mhm.
love library shows.
Mhm.
Comicopolis in Lockport, Illinois, was amazing. They brought in guests from California. I've never
Oh.
seen that at a library show before in Illinois.
Hmm.
Um, I
What's
feel.
that one in Elgin?
Oh, is,
Comic Palooza or something? I don't know,
yeah. There's
but it's coming up. It's
oh,
like next week or something.
yeah. I'm not going to that one, but yeah. Oof, yeah. There's so many great. Chicago is a great hub of great mecca for librarians, partially because we have a lot of universities, and also we have the American Library Association headquartered downtown. So, there's just so much library culture here, and it's just so passionate about it. They just, in general, librarians love to hang out with each other and just talk and chat and trade ideas and be geeky. They're just natural geeks. Librarians are natural geeks. So,
I wanted to talk about some of your history in comics. You had done Showcase '95 with
yeah.
Archie Goodwin.
Oh, yeah.
Please tell me an Archie Goodwin story. I love hearing Archie Goodwin stories.
Oh, God. I mean, he was just like the sweetest, most modest man alive. And I mean, I've thrown out this theory. Archie Goodwin is the greatest American comic book editor of all time. And no one will say, people will say, I think these people might be a match for him. Like someone might suggest, Karen Berger or something like that, or Julie Schwartz. But no one will say that another editor was better than him. He was just one of the most wonderful people to ever work with. When I did this in, obviously Showcase 95 happened in 95. I did the November issue, number 11. And he got me on board by saying, if you can do a short story with any writer you want, who would you want to work with? And we'll try to hire him. And I said, Alan Moore. This is before Top 10. And they said, Alan's kind of got a problem with DC right now. So I then said, so my second choice is you. Because I'd read a lot of his stuff like Manhunter. And I would just, if you read some Archie Goodwin stories from the 1970s, they read as amazingly modern. They read well then and they read well now. If you look for his Archie Goodwin and Walt Simonson's Manhunter stories, little short stories that are just perfect jewels of comic book action storytelling. And he didn't believe me at first. He thought I was just buttering him up for some weird reason, but I was honest and I said, no, please write me a story. And he did. It's a Batman story about a psychiatrist working in Arkham Asylum with all the Batman's rogues gallery and thinking he can be the one in control. And well, I mean, you know how that's going to end, but the way Archie ends it and twists it is really wonderful. But I went at it as a young early 90s self-pointed hotshot artist. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to make this all extreme and cool. And he's like, okay, if you read my whole story and you see how it builds up, there's a climax and there's a beginning and a setup. And the setup should not be as tension-filled as the climax, because that's where we're building up to. So you need to start off calm, and then you got to go crazy in the later pages. Start off calm. And it was just like, he showed me how you craft a story. And working with him taught me, like, it was like 50% of my comics education, just doing that one short story with Archie Goodwin. He was so smart and so kind and patient, just teaching me how to do it.
That's amazing. And that helps you now. I mean, now you're doing your creator-own book. Did you feel daunted at first? Like, now I'm really taking on trying to write and do everything?
Oh.
And now you're bringing other people in and, trying to expand.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, a lot of people have told me to me, like Tim Seeley and stuff like that. It's just, you're going to make mistakes when you tell your first story, but unless you start, you're never going to get there. We also talk about like running, where it's just like the first time you go jogging, you're going to feel like crap during it, and you're going to feel like crap at the end of it, but you're going to find out you just keep building up on it. And the nice thing about comics is oftentimes it can be really charming to see the early work of somebody, and if they have a passion and a spark, it's still going to be readable. And if they really care about getting it right, and they just want to tell a beautiful story as opposed to extreme, cool, repeat all the tropes of all my favorite artists mindlessly. As long as you don't do that, and you actually have something, a real story you want to tell, it's going to be readable. It's going to be fun. It might take some practice, or maybe it might be take a few strips before it becomes readable. I mean, I can't guarantee everyone's going to be readable in their first try, but you just dive in, and oftentimes you'll discover amazing things quickly as you work, and you just learn things from doing it that you can't otherwise.
Also, you've learned to write dialogue so well. Like you have a. It seems like you have a keen ear for listening to women's banter in this book.
Oh, I'm also going to give a secret. Okay, it's not a secret, but okay, my trick, which is so I'm a little bit on the Asperger's spectrum, and because I had an older brother who didn't have Asperger's, but is also incredibly smart on social stuff, including in recognizing my problems, he gave me some advice and some clues, like to warn me, okay, you're the problem here. It's not everybody else in the world who doesn't understand you. It's you're being a problem right now. And also he'd give me advice on how to deal with it. And then later on, I found the books of Professor Deborah Tannen, who's a communications sociologist. And she explained things to me like, her books explained to me things like the difference between how often men and women communicate with each other, how women communicate with each other and men communicate with each other, and dads talk to their sons or moms talk to their daughters, and all these different conflicts. And it's like, oh, if you understand the agenda of somebody, what their goals are, and you don't just try to say, well, that's not what I would do in that situation because I'm a middle-aged Asian man, it helps you understand. But you really have to look at their circumstances. It's like the thing, people catcalling inside of a gym or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to a guy, it may feel like, oh, me yelling like, yeah, you got a nice ass, may seem like, oh, isn't that a compliment? I complimented your ass. Well, to somebody else, it sounds like someone saying, I get to yell sexual things at you in the middle of a public space and embarrass you, and also try to force myself into a social relationship with you by just yelling at things at you from a distance. And therefore you have to talk to me and be nice to me because I yelled your ass is nice. And it's like this whole set of things are like, if I respond to that, I'm trapped in a conversation with this creepy guy with no social boundaries. What do I do so I don't have to talk to him again?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, she's probably not stuck up, or even if she is, that's not what she's happening right now. It's no, she just does not want to be trapped in a conversation with you, or worse.
Yeah, because I mean that's how it's just like you said, like that whole thing about understanding sisters versus brothers, you know. And yeah, I think like sometimes you really do need to look outside of yourself to get that empathy. You know, sometimes you do have to read psychology stuff. You do have to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
To really understand, because I mean there's so many life experiences I've never had that you know. So no, that's interesting.
But yeah, you talk to your friends actually, and just really, really listen to them, and don't be dismissive, and you're going to find out amazing things. But also read some Deborah Tannen books; those help too. She's pretty smart. She's smarter than me.
All right. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah. You're pretty smart too. Also, she's a martial artist, so don't mess with her.
So what were we, let's talk about, so when is this, when is May Volume 2 coming out? Is it out now?
Okay, so the floppies are already out. So the comic book magazines you buy in comic shops, Volume 2 is all finished. The book, the collected version, comes out in comic shops on September 18th. And then because of the weirdness of distribution, it comes out in bookstores on October 1st.
That is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, there's weird traditions built up on all this stuff. Also, comic shops release everything on Wednesday. Your Wednesday Warriors get to pick up their books then. Everything else, like DVDs and books, tends to get released in bookstores or video stores or whatever, if there are any video stores left, on Tuesdays.
Right, exactly. Because I remember, like, you'd always go to the video store on Tuesdays, see the new releases.
Yeah.
I kind of miss... You know, I feel like Amazon, I feel like these things, I feel like that's the greatest thing it's taken away from me, is like that joy of like Tuesdays, seeing the new releases Tuesdays, you know, going in and knowing what to rent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say, one thing I love about comic shop culture is it's a place where, I mean, you can, of course, you go there, you can have conversations, and any good shop is going to have clerks working there who, if you tell them a little bit about yourself and what you like as far as like movies, TV shows, books, anything else, even if you don't read comics, they can listen to you talk about what you like, and they'll be able to tell you comics you'll probably like.
Well, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of comic shops, and that's the way comic shops should be.
Yeah, it's just the way you draw everybody in, and bring people into the culture.
Exactly, you know, because there's a comic for everybody. I genuinely believe that, you know. You just have to know what people's interests are. Yeah,
and if you're in a city like Chicago that's big enough, and I will definitely not name names on this, but there are definitely shops with bad clerks in them, or shops with a few bad clerks, and if you've encountered one of those, you know how bad a bad clerk can be and how it can kind of turn you off of a fandom for life if it's bad enough. I'm a big fan of the author John Green.
Oh, right, yes,
Yeah.
it stars in our
The
eyes.
Fault in Our Stars.
Fault.
Yeah, other stuff like that.
That one, yes, yeah.
Yeah. And just online, I decided I'm going to jump into this fandom and chat with the other guys because he's such a smart, thoughtful guy. And if I'm going to talk to his...
sometimes the fans are nowhere near the same as the...
No, and okay, I should mention a few things. Okay, so John Green used to be in college was a chaplain at a children's hospital where a lot of the kids were dying of things like cancer. Also, his most famous fan is, I can't remember her last name. Her first name was Esther, and she was a kid who died of cancer. But she was also very, very religious. She was like, I'm going to die, but Jesus is going to take care of me. I'm so happy I'm going to meet him in this, but I'm going to miss my family so much, but Jesus. So she's very religious. Right. I'm not that religious, but I mean, it gave her a lot of strength to go. So I go on there, and somehow the subject on this thread I'm on turned a little bit towards religion, and I met some militant atheists there. And in fact, they turned out to be the only people conversing with me. Everyone else was in a different conversation on the same thread. And I made a defense of religion was just like, religion isn't always good, but for some people, they do learn their ethics and morality that way quite effectively.
Of course.
And they just jumped at me like, no, never. If they were going to learn it, they would have learned it. They would learn it without, if they'd grown up on anything. And it was like, but some people do learn it that way. No, it never happens. And I was like, what about Esther? How dare you? And that was like my whole conversation for a day. I just spent a day popping in there trying to see things like, nope, just people attacking me over saying that religion isn't a bad force in everyone's life. And it's like...
But that's the difference. And people are hardcore about everything.
Yeah.
People are hardcore. You can't just... Yeah, because, I've had atheists jump on my shit for being a Buddhist. It's like, I don't even believe in God. People will give you like, oh, well, you pray, so clearly you're doing the... It's so funny because so many atheists I know also, like, worship Neil deGrasse Tyson. And, of course, his comments from yesterday...
Oh, I know... I've been watching the story, Bill, but I don't know what happened yesterday.
Whenever it was, yesterday, day before, whenever it was, whenever he made those idiotic comments, like, about related to the shootings, where he was like, we shouldn't be so upset about 30 people being shot, because after all, 500 people die in the hospital, and there's so many people died this way, so many people died that way every single day, so, like, why are we mad about 30 people? It's like, dude, that was the most crass... callous, like inhumane thing you could ever say, and it's like if people who are hardcore about science are just as bad as people who are hardcore about Jesus. Well, it's like people who use their people who have no empathy is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Like we were saying about that book about and understanding conversations, understanding people. It's like you just have to have empathy.
Yeah,
that's it.
Everyone's going to start off as an idiot at any subject they're just jumping into any subject, unless they're one of those rare like geniuses who just shows up and immediately knows how to play piano.
Yeah,
it happens once in a while, but it's not very common. You don't meet Ethan Castillo's drawing comics every day. It's the reason I mentioned him earlier is because it's like. He's the only one like that I know who's actually like starting to get better than me. He's scary.
But yeah, being hardline about anything is like you were saying. Like
invite people in, invite people into the things you love. Don't chase them off for going a little bit off the track of what you believe. Show them why what you believe is true. Don't attack them for not knowing it yet.
Because people learn about ethics and get through religion the same way they learn about them through superheroes.
Yeah.
What are superheroes but sort of godlike tropes?
Yeah.
People learn their compassion at a young age through however it may be.
Yeah.
Just because churches may be corrupt, just because certain things may be whatever, doesn't mean that. Someone's basic tenets of how they developed empathy is bad, Yeah.
I have a lot of problems with where a lot of religions are going right now, including Christianity, specifically in America. But the things that are corrupting it are not the things in the Bible. It's that people will take whatever tool, whatever organization you give them, and go in it with their biases and say, well, everything in here confirms my biases. And it's like, well, what about these parts? Like, nope, those don't exist, or you're wrong about them. Only the things that confirm my biases are true. And, I may be not literally, if I'm a KKK member or something like that, I'm going to say the Bible confirms that the KKK is right. And it's like,
you're an Asian KKK member.
Yeah. People will just go in and do that. And it's just like, And you go to, I mean, you can go to, hardcore communist societies that were officially atheist. And boy, were they racist. It's not religion that creates racism and ethnic strife. It just happens because people are jerks.
Yeah. So, anyway, wrapping up on that note, I'm so glad to have you on. I'm so glad to see you again.
Well, it's fun to hang out here.
Yes, thank you so much.
With all the creepy, wonderful Funko Pops staring at us.
You make it sound like I have like 30. I got like 4.
You got more than 4.
It's, the Godfather ones are just, they have their condo.
She has 10 Funko Pops, and she's a martial artist, so don't mess with her, because she's crazy.
I'm crazy for a lot of reasons. All right, friends, thank you so much.
And wait, I just want to say this. Everything I've said about Wendy being crazy is not true. She's actually perfectly delightful, and I am obviously really, really jealous of her Funko Pops.